What's up, Pam? I just want to share with you guys my Army experience after graduating West Point. To give a little bit of background, I graduated in 2020, well, class of 2020, and it's been over a year since I graduated. So I wanted to just give an update on where I'm at, what I've been into, all that stuff. So I graduated back in 2020, as I said. Immediately after that, I drove straight down to Fort Sill. Yeah, I went to go move in to my new apartment because I knew I was going to be living at Fort Sill for the time being, at least for like the next 6 months or so minimum, because I knew I was going to be starting FA, like Field Artillery Basic Officer Leadership course. I knew that my date for starting wasn't going to be until like February. I was a snowbird. No specific reason. I was just put into a later class. I was set for February. And so what I did was me and my best friend, who was originally in my class in February, got his class moved to an earlier one. I think he got moved into like the August class. We got an apartment together because I was going to be living there anyways. And we lived together for the entire time he was at BOLC. So for those 6 months after we graduated, we lived together, split an apartment together. It was fantastic. And so yeah, anyways, I moved down to Fort Sill into the apartment that we ended up sharing for the next 6 months. I ended up chilling there for a couple days or so, maybe 2-3 days, just like getting used to looking around and all that stuff. And then I went on leave. After you graduate, you're allotted like 60 days of leave or something like that before you have to report to your next duty. My next duty was BOLC. Regardless of when my start time was, I had to report in the end of August sometime, so I had some time off. So I took some trips, did all that, had some fun with some friends, and then I had to come back to Fort Sill because that's my new living spot. As I came back to Fort Sill, I actually drove back up to West Point because I had a job. It was called, I can't remember what the name of the job was. It's basically a summer job that you do after you graduate West Point. You can get tasked or volunteer to do whatever job. I'm pretty sure I volunteered. Yeah, I did volunteer actually, definitely, to do a job after West Point. You do it as a second lieutenant, so there are perks and all that with doing it, which is interesting. No one really talks about it, but it is interesting if you do a job like that. So I went back up. My job was to be, I was going to be one of the range operators / officers in charge of the range for cadets that are going into their second year. So we call it Buckner. We just call it Buckner. It's really cadet field training. But that's what the job I was doing. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the team I was working with. It was awesome. I did that for maybe a month or so, how long the job was. I'll just go ahead and give my experience of the job real quick. We definitely got time. So at that job, there's something on me. Anyways, at that job, I went back up. I got an apartment. I lived off post. I ended up working with some really good colleagues, and my job was to basically help run the range, the rifle range, so that cadets could qualify before completing that cadet field training. It was a very simple job. It was a very easy job. It was a very not time demanding job. And it was very good because in that experience I learned how to run rifle ranges, which is something that is extremely beneficial for when you go to your unit after BOLC. So that was very nice. I'm happy I did it. The perks I guess of doing it was that you get to have New York BAH, basic allowance of housing, which is very high. I lived in a very cheap apartment. It was basically the equivalent of somebody's basement, and I lived pretty close to base, and that BAH was like $1,900 Plus on that, top of that, you're getting like your second lieutenant pay while you're working this job and stuff like that. You're getting your BAS, all that stuff. So it was a very sweet gig for the amount of work that was put into it. So I really did enjoy it. That was a short story. Anyways, I finished that job. After that, I went on some more trips because I still had some leave days racked up. Drove back down to Oklahoma. At this time, this is my third trip in between Oklahoma and New York. So I was used to this trip already. I made some trips, saw some family a little bit, saw some of my best friends. After that, I ended up actually solidifying myself at Fort Sill. Okay, this is where I'm gonna be. And that's when I started my snowbird process for 6 months. Snowbirding during COVID was the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. The easiest paycheck I've ever scooped in my life. It was something that I'm not gonna recommend it to everybody, but it was a very sweet gig because COVID was going on, there wasn't a lot to do. We didn't have to do organized PT because there wasn't, they wanted as little chances to get COVID on base as possible, and most of the snowbirds lived off base, and they didn't really want that. And so it was great. I got to work out pretty much whenever I wanted. I got weekends off to do whatever I needed. I had a very relaxed schedule, 1 to 2 formations a day. And I lived that life for literally 6 months. After that, I'll just fast forward. After that, let's say my snowbirding ended after winter break. Oh, and you get all your breaks. So you get Thanksgiving if you wanted to apply for it. You get, by apply, I mean put in leave for it. You get your winter breaks. Everyone gets winter break and all that stuff if you put in for it. I put in for all of them, obviously. I get back from winter break. After that is when the ball really starts rolling. That's when I start my quarantine. We each had to do our 2-week quarantine, I think, before we started BOLC, just to make sure, get our tests and all that stuff. Now the ball's really starting to roll. It's January. My class starts in the beginning of February. By class, I mean the actual course. You actually start class 2 weeks ahead of your date. So let's say my date's in February. Pretty sure I started Common Core in the end of January. Common Core is basically all the precursors before taking the course. That's where you do your land navigation. That's where you do, oh, and just a disclaimer, they probably switched up some of the stuff in terms of what they do at fabolc now versus in Common Core versus what they did during mine. But during my Common Core, you show up every day, you have a lot of briefs and processing stuff to do. You do land nav, rifle marksmanship. I was about to say ruck, but you literally don't do rucks. Oh, you do an ACFT, and all of them are diagnostic. It was chill, it wasn't very exhausting. You do that for 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, that's when you really get started with the course. And if you need a little breakdown on what the courses are like, I definitely have a video already about that, but I'll just leave a link to it or something, in the description. But so fast forwarding that, I graduate BOLC in June 3rd. I already got my orders. Let's say a month before I graduated is about the time. I'll say, yeah, about a month before I got my orders to say, yo, you're heading to Korea. This is about the time. Blah blah blah. And if you don't get your orders, don't freak out. Literally, just email the person who does orders and just say, hey, I need my orders. They probably have them, got them updated. Sometimes they just don't send them out. Sometimes they're busy, they just don't send them out, so you just gotta reach out. So for mine, they didn't have it in the stack of papers to give to our class to say, oh, here's your orders. They didn't have mine. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, they forgot I'm in the Army. I literally just emailed the lady later that day. She sent me a PDF version, which is what you want, actually. You want a PDF version, because then you can print out as many copies as you want, and you have the digital file, just in case someone tries to pull up on you in the airport or something like that, you have it on your phone or something like that. So you have that. After you get your orders and all that crap, You can start like booking flights if you need flights, getting movers to come move your stuff, all this stuff. You can start prepping to transition from you're finishing BOLC at Fort Sill to wherever you're going, unless you're at Fort Sill. If you're at Fort Sill, that process is literally cut in from 100% effort to literally like 10% effort. But after I fast forward, I graduate BOLC, ship all my stuff to Korea, all the easy stuff. I fly out to Korea. I booked my flight to literally leave Korea, I think June 9th or June 10th. That's when I was flying out. I graduated June 3rd, so I took that week, drove home, saw my family, said my goodbyes and stuff. Hey, I'm gonna be in Korea for 1 to 2 years. Great, we live in life. I'll take a lot of pictures. I'll send you guys some cool stuff on 5 and Supreme bags or something, whatever. Boom, I'm off in Korea. How Korea worked for me, the hardest thing I've done so far while being in Korea was get through the airport. That was it. And the reason why it was so difficult was because of the COVID stuff. That's it. But I can get into that stuff later. Fast forward, I'm in quarantine. So right now, I have been here for it's September now. I've been here almost 3 months. I've been in Korea. So here's how I'm at. I got out the airport finally. I went into quarantine. They drove me to Camp Humphreys where I would quarantine for however long I needed to quarantine. So for me, because I was vaccinated and I had negative test results already, my quarantine was literally like 5 or 6 days because that's how long it took me to in-process. You do like 90% of your in-processing at Camp Humphreys, which is basically where the headquarters of the division is. So 8th Army is headquartered here. 2nd ID is headquartered here. So when I came in, I knew I was going to be part of 2nd ID. Bought me a little 2nd ID patch, put on my arm, got my stuff together, did my quarantine for how long, did all my in-processing stuff, and by in-processing, you gotta do financing, your language stuff, get a license, all that stuff. I knew that my brigade, I was going to the 210 Fires Brigade. I know that my brigade is up at Camp Casey. Got all my stuff, issued everything, got on that bus, went up to Casey, went up to Camp Casey, which is a little bit more north. I guess a little bit closer to Seoul. But more north, like let's say Camp Humphreys is down here, Seoul's right here, and let's see if I can make this look good in camera. Maybe right here is Camp Casey. I can do a Camp Humphreys versus Camp Casey video later. But yeah, so I went up, got myself established at Camp Casey, got my room, because at Camp Casey everyone has to live on post. That's the difference than when I was at Fort Sill. Fort Sill, I lived off post the entire time. Camp Casey, I lived on post. It has its pros and cons. The pros of living on post is it was way cheaper. You don't have to worry about bills and stuff, and it's very convenient. You're very close to work. The cons of not living on post is you gotta follow rules and all this stuff. You have to be courteous to the people that are around you and stuff like that. When you live in a house, you get to do what you want. When you live in the officer quarters at a base, you have to follow certain guidelines and stuff, sign contracts and stuff like that. But yeah, so moved into my room, got all that stuff established, and immediately I started shadowing a couple of LTs that I've known for a bit. It was an interesting time. I started going to PT with them, doing all that. I was working in the battalion staff shop. And I literally did that for I don't even know, it was not that long. And also because COVID started running rampant. Let's say I did it for a week. I'll give myself that. I did shop stuff for a week. And doing that, during that time that we had that, literally the base went on lockdown because of COVID. COVID was running too rampant. They said everyone who's not priority, work from your room. I'm still new, so obviously I'm not priority. I'm literally in my room, just finishing certifications and stuff on my computer, getting stuff established. all that, just trying to get my foundation right so I can get going. I do all that stuff, and I get back on staff as I get there. So let's say this is like the end of the week. I have a meeting with our battalion commander, and they like just look over to, you know, battalion Excel. What's their job? What's his job gonna be? He's gonna be a platoon leader for Bravo. They want him down there starting like Monday. I was like, okay, like I'm down to be a PO, you know, like fuck yeah. And so like that's what you graduate the academy for. Like they burn into your head at the academy at West Point. Like we are developing you so you can lead America's sons and daughters. So that's what it feels like when you become a PO. You see that, you're like, yo, these are the American sons and daughters right here. Like, this is dope. So I was like, okay, dope, I'm ready. And so literally, like, I was on staff for like a week. Monday, I'm pulling up at Bravo Battery. I'm the new PO. And COVID's obviously going on. So I'm making sure that, you know, I'm following all the guidelines, doing everything I need to do to get established as a PL now. Not just a new lieutenant in the battalion, but also trying to like establish myself as a PL. And I'm doing pretty good. Immediately, I get right into doing property and stuff like that. And some of my colleagues help me out with that. We end up getting all that stuff done. I'm probably a week and a half, maybe 10 days into being a PL. That's when I hear, hey, like, you have to go do this. And by this, I mean they're saying you have to go do a job down at Camp Humphreys. You have to go be the liaison officer, basically managing COVID operations for the brigade, for 210 Brigade down at Humphreys. I was like, okay, like I've never done anything like that before, but it's an interesting experience, I'll do it. As I do that, I drive down to Humphreys, and I have a story about that. I could have a story about that later. Yeah, so I've been down here for well over a month at Camp Humphreys. I've just been living here, managing the PL aspect while also doing my L&O duties. And it's been an interesting time. I've enjoyed my time so far, obviously. My schedule is very, let's just say 0 to 100 nowadays. It's not very consistent. Like it's different than when I was back in Casey, but I do enjoy what I do regardless. Like I enjoy like putting out fires, helping people get stuff done. And you know, it's fine. Like I'm enjoying my time in Korea so far. I've had a lot more opportunities to go out, learn the language, use what I've been learning, enjoy the culture and stuff like that. And you know, I'm looking forward to more of it.